gracious.
علم القرآن.
It is He who has taught the Quran.
خلق الإنسان.
He has created man.
علمه البيان.
He has taught him speech and given him intelligence.
الشمس والقمر بحسبان.
The sun and the moon follow courses exactly computed.
والنجم والشجر يسجدان.
And the herbs and the trees, both alike, bow in adoration.
والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان.
And He has raised the firmament high, and He has set up the balance of justice,
ألا تطغوا في الميزان.
in order that you may not transgress due balance.
وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان.
So establish weight with justice and do not fall short in the balance.
والأرض وضعها للأنام.
It is He who has spread out the earth for His creatures.
فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام.
Therein is a fruit and date palms, producing spikes and closing dates.
والحب ذو العصف والريحان.
Also corn with its leaves and stalk for fodder, and sweet-smelling plants.
فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
Then which of the favors of your Lord will you deny?
خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار.
He created man from sounding clay, like unto pottery.
وخلق الجان من مارج من نار.
And He created jinns from fire, free of smoke.
فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
Then which of the favors of your Lord will you deny?
رب المشرقين ورب المغربين.
He is Lord of the two east and the two west.
فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
Then which of the favors of your Lord will you deny?
مرج البحرين يلتقيان.
He has let free the two bodies of flowing water meeting together.
بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان.
Between them is a barrier which they do not transgress.
فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
Then which of the favors of your Lord will you deny?
صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Wow.
Thank you, Brother Ali and Muhammad Sidi, for those beautiful verses. Now, coming back to our event, today we are here to get a glimpse into the life of astronauts. I'm sure everyone sitting here has always wondered about how life in space is. Well, today we will find out. I would like to call Brother Farhan to come and take us on this journey. Brother Farhan.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. First of all, I think apologies are in due because we are late. I'm sorry for that, but we were trying to wait for the crowd together before we could start. Secondly, thank you all for coming. I know Saturday nights are supposed to be family nights and people usually have a lot of plans, but I really appreciate that you people are here. Thirdly, for those people who know me as a speaker know that I hate one-sided lectures or one-sided conversations. For me, it's lively and it's fruitful if all of us are contributing. So even tonight, I will expect some views, opinions, thoughts to come from the crowd, some from me, and then together we can move on. Is everyone fine with that? Okay. So, to start off, well, as the master of ceremony said, the fact that all of you are here means that at some point of time in your life you have wondered what life in space is all about, isn't it? How many here, we don't have too many of, what word can I use, adults here, but have you ever wanted to be an astronaut?
Yeah.
For the younger ones here, how many have thought about that, like that might be an option to become an astronaut? Raise up, raise up. If it's something that you are really passionate about, then you should be raising your hands up from now. That's the only way you're going to make it. Okay. Not to put you on the spot, but can you please stand up and perhaps tell us why you want to be an astronaut? Come on, come on. Okay, so you want to go into space and you want to see the planets. See what the world beyond our world is all about, right? Maybe even try to meet a few aliens. Okay, so that could be a fascinating possibility, isn't it? Okay. To give me an idea of how to take the session forward, what are the people, what does the crowd think about astronauts? Like, what sort of life do you think they have over there? Anyone? Come on. Yes? Can I know your name, please?
My name is
Mohammed Mehdi. And your friend there who answered the previous question?
His name is Ishan.
Zishan. Oh. Ishan.
Yes.
Thank you, Ishan. And yes, Mohammed Mehdi?
An astronaut is a person who travels into space. So I think the life of an astronaut is always in space.
Yeah, but what do you think an astronaut does every day? You know, stuck there in a spaceship, not being able to go out or do all the fun stuff that you people do down here? What do you think he does? No idea at all? Okay, fine. Well enough, at least I have a general idea now. So, life of an astronaut. Down here is a saying by a Portuguese explorer, Ferdinand Magellan. How many have heard of it? History lessons in school. Anyways, he was a Portuguese explorer who discovered a lot of, explorations, and he has a quote which says that it is with an iron will that they embark on the most daring of all endeavors, to meet the shadowy future without fear and conquer the unknown. He was talking about explorers at his time, but then later on NASA decided to put this as a quote in their astronaut handbook, because it sort of defines what astronauts do as well. That iron will to leave their family behind, leave everything on earth behind, go on those journeys where they don't know what they are going to see, what is going to happen. So it takes a lot of willpower and courage to be able to go into that. I'm not trying to scare you future astronauts, but just to make things real for you, okay? This might give us an idea of an astronaut. My God, he's stuck in that spacesuit of his and now his nose is itching. Not a good situation to be in, is it? Okay, so who is an astronaut? An astronaut or a cosmonaut is a person trained by a human spaceflight program to command, pilot or serve as a crew member of a spacecraft. While generally reserved for professional space travelers, the terms are sometimes applied to anyone who travels into space, including scientists, politicians, journalists, and tourists. Space tourism is a huge thing right now. I think everyone has heard of Tito, the first space tourist, that really rich guy who paid to go to space. Well, a lot of people followed him. In fact, recently there was an article which says that he's planning a trip to Jupiter, I think. That's like his next destination. He wants to take a crew, sponsor it, and go all the way to Jupiter as a tourist. Interesting, isn't it? So, how do you become one? Before they can fly in space, astronauts have to undergo hundreds of hours of training. This is split into three main sections. First, the newcomers. Well, before they come to astronaut training, they're usually supposed to do a degree, either in mechanics or in engineering, some sort of engineering before they can sort of specialize into becoming astronauts. Okay? And once they go, their names are registered and then they have to go through this training, and then the people who make it through this training are the ones who actually end up becoming astronauts. Okay. Later on, I have a video of an astronaut known by, his name is Jerry Carr. He tells us of his whole journey of how he once wanted to be an astronaut, but then started off working at NASA and building machines, and worked for such a long time before he actually got his opportunity to finally go into space. Okay? Any questions so far? I hope everyone is still interested. Are we? Okay. So, first the newcomers want to qualify as astronauts have to pass a 1-year course of basic training. They learn about space technology, basic medical skills, because when they go into space, they need to be able to take care of health-related situations, and how the International Space Station works. They also become familiar with scuba diving. After this first part, they go on to another year of advanced training. They learn in more detail about the various parts of the International Space Station, the experiments, the transport vehicles, and the involvement of ground control. They can then be assigned to a mission, working as much as possible with the other members of the crew. They learn about the special tasks linked with their particular mission, because the mission can be just to go into space and observe, or it can be to go and collect samples, or it can be, there are different types of missions that happen. Every mission has its own requirements, has its own duration, has its own, prerequisites, so many things. With the mission, and they become familiar with weightlessness during parabolic flights. What is weightlessness, if someone can tell me? Yes, let's give chance to someone else this time. Tell us your name, please.
Abi.
Yes, Abi.
No gravity.
No gravity. Okay, how does that apply to astronauts?
Space, there's no gravity. So
Yes. So basically in their spacecraft, they're just floating around, flying, feeling like they're flying at least. Isn't that a very interesting idea? Imagine if we could all just float around. Wouldn't that be interesting? Ishan is the only one who is very much thinking about all this. Anyway, okay. The reason why they go for training is two things. First of all, they require trainings for being in the space shuttle. So all these trainings that they do, basic medical skills, is to help them while they are in their journey. But then there is another reason for the training as well. The other reason is when they are trying to come back to Earth and they have to do emergency landings. Those landings can be on any part of the world. So they can land in a desert, they can land in the middle of the ocean, they can land in Antarctica, they can land pretty much everywhere. They have their landing spots, but anything can go wrong. So the trainings are for them to be able to survive up there, and then to be able to survive their crash landing when they come back to Earth. Okay? That makes sense to everyone? Fine. Over several years, the astronauts get to know each other very well, so they have a very good social life also. Some people might think that astronauts being there, away from their friends and family, you make a lot of friends while you are astronauts as well. They visit training centers in different parts of the world, USA, Russia, Japan, Canada, Europe. This may involve learning a foreign language like Russian, because English is already mandatory for them, compulsory, as well as getting to know about the scientific experiments and special activities of the mission. So there's a lot of continuous learning involved in the process. For every mission, you have to train somewhere else, learn something new. So I think it's a profession that will keep your brain continuously active all the time and keep challenging you. Okay? Now, before we go to all these things, I think maybe I should show you the video now. Let's hope the sound works. website is all about. I think that is also something very interesting for all of you who are curious learners. Let's hope this works out.
Normally, astronaut training takes about 1 full year. It includes such subjects as astronomy, astrophysics, flight fit.
Can everyone hear? Yes? I'll try to pause. Okay, let's do this. We go through it at once. It's just a 4-minute clip. Then the second round, I'll be pausing it and trying to explain what's happening. Okay?
Now, orbital trajectories or orbital management. Another part of the astronaut basic training is survival training. In the days of Gemini, you never knew for sure where a spacecraft might land if there was an emergency deorbit. So we had to take desert training, water training, and jungle survival training. So we had to learn how to cook and eat snake and all other such other good things as how to make water in the desert. After that year and a half of astronaut basic training, our names were all put on the list, and that list was quite a bit longer at that time than there were seats available. And so we were all given other duties to keep us occupied and to help continue our training. 5 of us were assigned to the lunar module, and our job was to be with these lunar modules as they were being built. So we spent a lot of time there. I must admit that probably I had more time sleeping on the floor of lunar module number 6 than the crew who flew it on the moon. Well, my next job was to be on the support crew of Apollo 8. And Apollo 8 was the spacecraft that flew to the moon and came back but did not land. When they went behind the moon, they were supposed to do a thrusting maneuver to slow them down so they'd be captured into lunar orbit. So we just had to sit and cool our heels when they were behind the moon. And we knew if they came out a little early on the other side that they had not burned enough, not slowed down enough, that we're going to just skip out into space and wouldn't be captured in orbit. If they came out a little bit late, it meant they had overdone it. It meant they were going to be in orbit, but we were going to begin the spiral down to the lunar surface. And of course, without a lunar module, it kind of ruined your whole day. You can imagine how relieved we were at the instant that they were supposed to appear on the other side of the moon, that they appeared. My next assignment was again a support crew assignment on Apollo 12. But Apollo 12 was struck by lightning on its way off the pad. Nearby thunderstorm, there was a lightning bolt that went over and hit the very tip of the spacecraft. Went down, the charge went down through the spacecraft, through the booster, down the exhaust gases, and rounded out on the launching pad. It killed the electrical power system, and the computers all died. You can imagine what it must have been like for them inside, because suddenly the lights all went out, and they came back on, and the batteries picked up the load. And every single warning light and caution light in the spacecraft was on and flashing. And all the necessary bells, whistles, and buzzers and things that are in there, all were going off at the same time. The crew was totally confused as to what was going on. When we were settled in orbit, we tested all the various systems, and everything looked good. So now I figured this is it. And sure enough, I did get an assignment, a flight assignment. I was assigned to the backup crew of Apollo 16, which meant that I was to be on the prime crew of Apollo 19. And several weeks into the training, NASA made a surprise announcement that they were going to cancel Apollos 18, 19, and 20. We were in the middle of the Vietnam War. The budget was in bad shape. So you can imagine there were 3 very, very sad hangdog guys moping around the office because we lost our flight to the moon. But several weeks later, I got a call from Tom Stafford, senior astronaut at that time, and he wanted me in his office. I went in and he told me that he was sorry that I had missed my opportunity for the moon, but he said, I've got another assignment for you. He said, I want you to be the commander of the 3rd and final Skylab mission. And he said, you think you can do the job? And I said, of course, yes. And I'll have to admit a certain lump in my chest and in my stomach because I was a rookie. And they normally don't assign a rookie to be a commander. Usually you have to have at least 1 flight under your belt. But they assigned me to that, which was really kind of a shock. Because the last rookie commander was Neil Armstrong on Gemini 8.
everyone see that properly? Did everyone get what's happening? Should I go over it once more? Sure? Should I or should I not? No. If I ask questions later on from the video, you can answer. Okay. Anyway, so okay, so just to summarize the video sort of to help you people get an understanding, it's talking about this astronaut called Jerry Carr who wanted to be an astronaut, went through all that training in the start, but when his name got on the list, because when the astronauts finish training, their name goes on a list, then they are picked out according to missions. So when his name went into the list at that point of time, they realized, there's too many people. And his name was probably somewhere way down. So what happened is that he was given other duties to do to start off with. He started working on the lunar module, which was sort of this device that was supposed to keep that whole video is showing this space shuttle that went and was supposed to orbit with the moon. Okay, so the device that he built was the one that was responsible for keeping it in that orbit. Because if it moved slightly on this side, it would crash into the moon. If it moved slightly on the other side, it would move out of orbit completely and probably never return to Earth. So he was given that task. Then he was given another task of just, being part of the team there. Finally, he got his break, okay, to go on the spaceship. And then he is known as one of the people with the most amount of time in space. Like that's his record. He spent over 2,000 hours there. So, see, he started off, things sort of didn't work out for him, but he was patient, he dealt with those small situations until he finally got his big break. Now, okay, I thought I would go over the video again, but I just want to show you this ending part. Okay, I got this video from ed.ted.com. Has anyone ever heard of ted.com before? Can you tell us, yes Aman, what is it about?
It's a program with all the inspiring videos and all the videos of people.
Okay. TED.com is a website which is renowned world over. It is a website where people, scientists, innovators, people from different walks of life share ideas. So you go to that website and you have different videos of people sharing ideas, successful things that have happened. You will find the story of, let's say, a boy who discovered a way to make energy in a village. A 14, 15-year-old boy. Then you have a very young person who maybe caused a change somewhere within their surroundings. So they have very interesting, very thought-provoking videos of real-life stories. So I would recommend that first of all, TED.com. This is a branch of TED.com. It's ed.ted.com. This is more for the younger generation, for the younger people, and it has interactive lessons like this about a lot of topics. So like this is Life of an Astronaut. There are many other topics and you can go and find interactive videos like this. So these two I would really recommend for you to visit. Okay, so back to our presentation. Now after seeing that, I would like to break down the life and let's try to see certain important aspects of the life of an astronaut out there. Okay, main thing, food. Everyone wants to find out what will I eat in space. Hawa Kaiskali will there actually be food there. So at the beginning of the 1960s, space food was bite-sized or placed in aluminium tubes. So imagine they would have to eat out of a tube. The food was prepared this way so that they wouldn't be too heavy or take up too much space. Because over there, the lesser you have, the better. You want more space, there's a lot of wires lying around, a lot of buttons. You don't want there to be too much trash. So the lesser you have, the better. From the 1970s, during the Apollo period, the number of space food items began to increase. A variety came about, people discovered ways of making better food for the astronauts. Currently there are about 150 different types of food. The meals are very similar to the meals we eat on Earth. Over several years, the astronauts get to know. Okay. Space foods are in plastic containers. Some space foods can resume their consistence by adding cold or hot water. So they're in a concentrated form, and when you add water, something like noodles, you know, you put in water and it actually becomes food, but first it's condensed. Then while others can be heated up in the oven, they are allowed to have electrical trays that they use to eat. This is another sort of tray. These are freeze-dried foods, so they have to probably warm them in the oven before they eat. This is the natural foods and condiments. I'm sure the kids have already spotted the colorful gum-like objects in that list. Isn't it, Ishan? Okay, these are the drinks. I wish they would put a bit more color on those packs. They look quite boring, don't they? Yeah, so these are their foods. Clothes. Inside the space shuttle, the air pressure is kept at 1 atmosphere, which is same as the Earth. Okay? To try and make the environment inside the space shuttle as similar to our normal Earth environment as possible. The temperature and humidity are controlled so that the astronauts can live comfortably. Therefore, except for those orange flight suits that they are worn during launch and re-entry, the astronauts do not need any special clothes if they are going to stay inside the space shuttle only. The astronauts dress in the same manner that we on Earth do. Okay, so they wear normal clothes as long as they are inside the space shuttle. If their mission involves them to go out, then they have to put on a space suit again. The astronauts are unable to do their laundry inside the space shuttle. So the astronauts bring several sets of undergarments to change every day. They also bring extra cotton shirts and pants. When the astronauts venture outside the space shuttle to work in space, they wear space suits, like the one that we saw in that photo where the astronaut's nose is itching. Everyone remembers that? Okay. These space suits are high-performance suits with various functions that are designed to protect the astronauts from an environment that is too harsh for a human being to live under, such as space radiation and the vacuum of space. Who can tell me what problem would space radiation cause? Yes, Ishan? I can't hear you, sorry. Suffocation. That probably because of the vacuum, but the space radiation could be a cause for cancer. Okay? If the astronaut is exposed to the radiation for long periods of time, then they could get cancer because of it. Everyone knows what cancer is? The photo is the same as that one. Personal hygiene. Since water does not flow in a zero gravity environment like the way it is in a space shuttle, the astronauts cannot wash their hands under a sink the way we do, because if they were to open the tap, the water would fly up instead of pouring down. So there are no sinks or showers inside the space shuttle. When the astronauts want to clean themselves, their hands or faces, they either wipe themselves clean with alcohol, medically used alcohol, which is allowed, or by using a wet towel containing liquid soap. When the astronauts wash their hair, they use waterless shampoo. Interesting. Which does not need any water for rinsing. So you just put the shampoo, you remove it, no need of water. We should have that, some of it here, don't we? Okay. Waterless shampoo is used since it has no foam, which could spatter inside the space shuttle. Again, remember, safety is their primary concern. They don't want to short circuit anything. Remember in that video when the space shuttle was hit by lightning and everything was shorted out? There was no communication with the base back on Earth. The functions of the space shuttle were probably diminished as well. So they have to try and prevent that damage as much as possible. Fine? After washing, they use dry towels to dry themselves off, and their washing is done. To clean the body, they simply wipe their body using a wet towel soaked with body shampoo. convenient. General cleaning. As people live there, it becomes messy after meals, as we all are. And there's also garbage to be disposed of. Between their duties, the astronauts clean the meal area, change the air purification system's filters. So this is like their day-to-day activity. They have to do things like this so that they can live in a comfortable environment. Collect the garbage, clean the walls and the floors. They use liquid detergent, disposable plastic gloves, multi-purpose wiping cloths, and a vacuum cleaner for cleaning. Okay? To clean, they spray the detergent, wipe with cloth, and then vacuum the dust. When using the detergent, they wear disposable gloves. The collected garbage and used gloves are stored. They try as much as possible not to dump it out into space because you don't want space clutter, and it is stored in a particular area which when they come back to Earth, then it is all disposed of. Okay? Sleep. In the zero gravity world of outer space, there are no ups or downs. You know, you are basically floating in mid-air. You can sleep upside down the way bats do. You can sleep while standing. You can sleep normally. Then space is different over there. It's not like we are bound over here. The astronauts can sleep facing in any direction. But it's not good to be floating away somewhere while sleeping. Imagine they get stuck inside the filter or the vacuum cleaner or inside the wires. So they have to strap themselves. They use either small sleeping compartments and sleeping bags. They will strap their bodies loosely so that their bodies will not float around while they sleep in the space shuttle. So just to keep them confined in the space. Okay? Eye masks and earplugs are also available for the astronauts who are unable to sleep due to the noise from the air conditioning and the other machines. Remember, there are a lot of machines working day and night. They can't stop. So there must be a lot of background noise and all that, kind of like this fan is moving right now, collateral damage. We have to get used to that. So they have facilities that can sort of help them get through that. The astronaut's sleeping cycle while in the space shuttle allocates 8 hours for sleeping. However, in most cases they will sleep for around 6 hours since they often work long hours, or they'll spend their time enjoying the view of the outside from the shuttle's window. Like Ishan said, he wants to see the planet. Imagine viewing from your window of the space shuttle and you can see the Earth right there. You know, maybe later on I can get some pictures for us. But just seeing the Earth, you know, from up there, they say the Great Wall of China can be seen from up there. It's the only man-made, you know, thing or object that can be seen from space, like on Earth. Imagine seeing the lights, you know, the clouds. Good feeling, isn't it? The astronauts always, this was a quote that I read somewhere, they say the view never gets old. They wake up every day, see the same thing, but it's a different feeling every time they see it. Exercise. Very important when you are out there in space. On Earth, except while sleeping, human beings are always moving against the force of gravity with their muscles and bones supporting their body. Okay? The struggle to keep afloat, to move around, to push themselves, their muscles are constantly moving against it. However, the body does not. That is why here on Earth we are always, you know, using our. There's no gravity, so you're just floating around, aramti, so your muscles can get lazy out of not being used, and they can, you know, break down, die. This has an adverse effect on the body, with the bones and muscles becoming weaker because they are not being used. Okay? In order to keep the body working, the astronauts need a proper amount of exercise. So they will exercise approximately 2 hours every day using exercise machines such as treadmills and ergometers. The treadmill is a machine on which the astronauts do running exercises, the way we do here on Earth. The ergometer is a machine similar to a bicycle but without wheels. The amount of exercise can be adjusted by changing the pedal's pressure. Another thing that I didn't mention while I was talking about sleep, what happens in space is on Earth, our sleep timings are controlled sort of by the rising and setting of the sun. Okay, we sleep when it's night, we are awake when it's day. In space, that is not the case, because technically the sun is always there. It doesn't really rise or set. So the astronauts have to fix their own sleeping time. So they have a clock, and every day they have to sleep by the clock. So if 10 o'clock, go to sleep, 6 o'clock in the morning, wake up. They have to do that. Otherwise, the biological clock of the body gets screwed up, and they can be in a permanent state of jet lag. Okay, everyone knows what jet lag is? You know, when we travel to places that have a different time zone, and then we come back here and we have to adjust back to this time zone. So for a while your body, you end up staying awake at night, sleeping during the day. That is jet lag. Now if the astronauts over there do not monitor their own sleep, they can be in a permanent state of jet lag. Jet lag every single day. Not feeling okay, not feeling good. So they have to monitor their sleep timings. Health, very important. What happens there in space? Someone gets hurt, someone gets a heart attack, someone chokes. What will they do? So each astronaut in the space shuttle has a specific assigned role, and as such, although all of them are given basic first aid and life skills training, but one person is made the crew medical officer, and he is the person in charge. So each has received intensive training required for their specialized tasks. So this crew medical officer, together with that basic life skills, he gets advanced training to be able to deal with situations of health crisis. Okay? The medical officer is trained not only for the usual first aid treatments, but also for other medical matters such as stitching up wounds, giving injections. All astronauts, however, are trained for emergency resuscitations in case of heart attacks. Okay? Because it can happen to anyone and everyone has to be prepared to deal with it. Many medical instruments and medicines are included in the space shuttle's medical kit. These kits are used to treat minor illness and injuries during the flights. In addition, these kits are also used to stabilize the patient's condition during the flight back to Earth. Okay, so when that person is being rushed back to keep him stable, these equipments are used. Entertainment. Aku diwas काम खाली बस floating and dealing with machines and all that can get a bit boring apart from the view, but I mean everyone wants to know what fun stuff can they do out there, isn't it? So the astronauts can bring some of their own belongings with them, your favorite game. I'm sure you can take your PSP out there as long as you concentrate on what you're supposed to do. They can spend their leisure time in the same way that they would do on Earth, by reading their favorite books, listening to whatever they listen to. Also, since the Earth and the stars that they're able to see from the space shuttle windows are so beautiful, the astronauts will spend their time by enjoying the view and taking pictures. I wonder if they have Facebook up there, taking pictures of space and uploading them directly. That should be fun. Space tourism. Okay, so I think we are done with the basic aspects of an astronaut's life. Are there any questions, or is there any part that you are wondering about? Come on, anyone? Swell? Anything that you are wondering about? Jump.
About us, see, you say that in space everything is fine. What about the toilet facilities?
That is.
You go. How it will be maintained?
Actually, I purposely asked this question because I did not put the toilet section here because I was not sure how people would take it. So I purposely asked the question because that is exactly what I was looking for. But it seems no one is worried about, except for Uncle here, no one is worried about how you will do it there. Anyways, so let me answer your question. Thank you so much, Uncle. Your name, please, if you can introduce yourself.
Without say.
So, as far as the toilets are concerned, okay, over there, I'm trying to make this as non-gross as possible. But what happens is they have toilet seats the way we do over here, okay, but now they can't just go sit on it because they'll float away. So So they have to strap themselves to the toilet seat as well. So the toilet seat comes with sort of a seat belt that they have to sit with. On top of that, they can't just, give out the motion because there's no gravity. So there is actually a suction pump in the toilet seat as well, which sort of pulls it out. Okay? And so that is how they do it. Then the cleanliness is the way they clean everything else with those towels and detergent and all that. But they have washroom facilities. The waste again is not disposed into space. It is stored somewhere in the space shuttle. There's a special compartment for that. And then when they come back on Earth, that is disposed as well. Okay? Very good question. Anything else that now people are wondering about? Nothing. Yes. Difficult question. Yeah. I haven't come across something like that, and honestly, I don't think they would be able to do that, because imagine, the pressure of doing that surgery and out there, plus not to mention the equipments that you would require to be able to do it. I don't think so. That is why I guess when something like this happens, they try to stabilize that person and send him back to Earth as soon as possible. And plus, before they actually become astronauts, they have to, again, sorry, I forgot to mention that, they go through a lot of medical tests. So before they are given the approval to go back to space, they have to, they check everything. So their cardiac function, everything is checked properly. Only people with almost perfect health are allowed to go over there. Okay, anything else? Yes, sir.
I also wanted to ask you, when an astronaut flies outside our space, how is the feeling? The feeling is normal as it is on the Earth, or the feeling is different?
From what I have read, thank you so much, Anka. From what I have read of all these accounts of the astronauts, it's not the same feeling at all, because Anya, we are standing and we know we are stuck to the ground. There, no gravity keeping you to the ground, the whole floating around. The amount of things that can go wrong when you are out there. Machines can short circuit, as we saw in that video, lightning can hit the space shuttle, fuel can finish, there can be a small short and that would, short circuit everything. So, from what they say, it's definitely not the same feeling as being here. But they try to make it as normal as possible while they are there. The few people who are there together, because if they were to be completely detached, then they can get depressed, they can have a low morale. So later there is a slide which talks about family as well. They are given periods whereby they can talk to their family members. So the station that is on Earth makes phone calls for them, or these days I'm sure Skype works over there, so they can Skype with their family members. So they try to make it as normal as possible, but it's definitely not the same. Mohammed first?
Yes. What would happen if you dispose garbage into the space?
Actually, it does happen. There's a lot of space clutter outside over there, because even if they do not dump, still the space shuttle is a machine. So there are parts of it that break off and go, and that is a problem that they are trying to tackle right now, the collection of space debris or space trash, as they call it. The problem with that is that that is just floating around in space. So first of all, for any space shuttle that is going, if it is a big enough mass, it can actually cause problems for the space shuttle in itself. Secondly, if for some reason that clutter was supposed to get too close to the Earth, then the gravity would pull it. So that clutter can come back to Earth in the form of meteorites and as meteors come and cause damage on Earth itself. Okay? Plus, it's just spoiling the outside environment. which is not good generally. So, clear? Yes, Sakhin.
How is an astronaut sit on a rocket?
Sit on a rocket, as in, this is my rocket and I sit on
Outside. An astronaut, so if I park in a car and the car will go fast, I'll obviously push back and sit. For a rocket, that would be even more.
when they are shooting into space, okay, I think you must have seen it in videos, maybe I'll try to get one for you later, but when they are shooting into space, they are all buckled to seats, you know, they're not just hanging around when they are going at that shoot-off point, to say. At that point of time, they are all, you know, properly belted to their seats and all the safety measures are taken. Once they reach into orbit, that is when they start letting themselves loose. But for the shooting up, they are very well protected. Sakhin? Yes, sir. I should have waited for the Q&A at the end. This is becoming too many questions. Yes, sir. Go on. Sorry, I didn't get you what?
Example, gravity boots.
Gravity boots.
Yeah, example, they're magnetic, and then they're magnetic and doors also.
I'm sure they can make those, but why would they want them on a spaceship?
Maybe because someone gets tired of eating or floating around and wants to walk or
I'm sure they have those. I need to find out about that and then remind me to answer you. But I don't see why they would need that as such, because they do the exercise on the machines anyways. So they do the walking bit when they are on the machines and they can adjust the speed accordingly. And on the space shuttle itself, imagine the whole thing is made up of metal. If you have those magnetic boots, I don't know where you are going to get stuck. You know, so I think that walking bit they do on the treadmill and on that other machine. So that forms part. Gian.
I wanted to ask you that what is the maximum speed the aircraft and the airspace can go? Maximum speed.
I haven't read about that, but I'll get back to you, G.
And if it reaches to the other planet, can it find out in future the life in Earth or in outer space?
There are so many researches that are going on paper. There are so many researches that are going on about life on other planets. Although so far I don't think, apart from the millions of movies that we see, I don't think they have any. Recently I think they found crystals of water or something that looks like water on Mars. So they are saying that maybe. But so far even the evidence that they have found of life outside is not of human beings or completely organized organisms like us. They have ideas that maybe there are bacteria or microorganisms that may have happened. But so far, at least as far as scientifically is concerned, they haven't found proof of proper life anywhere outside. Although the research is still going on and we are still waiting for them to buzz us.
Okay. And I also wanted to ask you explaining more details of re-entry into the Earth. Re-entry is a very difficult task. If you can elaborate on this thing, so more knowledge can be gained.
Fine. So let me get through this, then inshallah at the end we'll talk about re-entry. Okay? Let me move on because I think we are running short of time now. Something about space tourism. Okay? This is the person I was talking about. Tito made history in 2001 when he used a reported $20 million for an 8-day trip to the International Space Station aboard a Russian Soyuz spacecraft. Buzz is building about a planned 2018 private mission to Mars. Sorry, I said Jupiter, it's Mars. which may launch the first humans towards the red planet. We've had rovers, we've had space shuttles that have gone to Mars, but never have we had people. But he is now planning in 2018, inshallah, that he wants to take people to Mars for the first time as tourists. So that's something to look forward to. Communication with family and friends. In the International Space Station, they can watch DVD, movies once a week. This was very specific, but generally every mission, every spacecraft has its own timings to be able to talk to family and friends back on Earth. Religious aspects. I should have asked this, but no one is asking how do we pray on the spacecraft, there is no gravity, do we fast or not, what are the Islamic rulings. Now, I tried to research on this. I was trying to get to talk to one of the sheikhs, but I couldn't. But this is what I found online, that Malaysia's space agency, ANGKASA, convened a conference of 150 Islamic scientists and scholars. It says last year, but this was, I think, in 2007. Sorry about that. To wrestle with these and other religious-related questions. I think most of these were Sunni scholars. From what I could read, I don't think there was any Shia scholars that were involved in this. So this is something that we need to look into and find our own rulings as well. They made a document out of that meeting, which is a guideline for performing ibadah at the International Space Station, which was approved by Malaysia's National Fatwa Council. So there is a document of religion as well. When you go into space, how do you pray? And all of this started, there was this one Malaysian astronaut, I forgot his name. He was the one to raise this question. He got into space and he's like, okay, now how do I pray? Like, where is Qibla from space? Where is Makkah? Are we even facing that direction every day? So he sent those queries back to Earth, and this is what was done out of it. According to this report that they have, determining the Qibla should be based on what is possible for the astronaut and can be prioritized this way. So the astronaut has to, from space, look for Kaaba, or project where Kaaba would be, or just look at Earth, because the Earth it contains Kaaba, and because he can't pinpoint exactly where Kaaba is, he should pray just looking at Earth, or even wherever, because so these are different rulings. Now I'm not sure how much these are according to our Shia principles, but that is something that one of us wants to become an astronaut, and this is something that we have to think about. How will we do our wajibats over there? Okay? Muslim astronauts. I have a list here. I'm hoping it's going to show. See, so we have someone from Saudi Arabia who went in 1985. The first Saudi, first Arab, the first Muslim, and first royal person in space. Then we have someone from Syria. He went in 1987. He was the first Syrian in space. Musa Manarov was from the Soviet Union. He spent a total of 541 days in space. That's 1.5 years. Afghanistan, we have Abdul Ahad Muhammad. He was the first Afghan in space. Soviet Union again, Dr. Obakirov. He was the first Kazakh. We have Talgat Musabayev. He spent 341, actually I'm not even sure whether it's a he or a she, but the person spent 341 days in space. Salizan Sharipov, 201 days in space. We have someone from Iran, Anousheh Ansari, first female space tourist, and first Muslim woman in space. So that's quite a thing. So being an astronaut is not only something that's just for boys. We have examples of Muslim women as well who've gone there. Then we have Sheikh Muzaffar Shukr. He was the first Malaysian in space, and I think those documents that were formed by Malaysia were because of his efforts. So, we've talked about the Muslim astronauts. Now, if before I move on, I think I should talk about Uncle's question regarding re-entry. What happens during re-entry is that the shuttle already has an inbuilt mechanism. Like they have their mission, the number of days that they are going to spend over there are fixed from the day they move up. So at the end, it's like the shuttle is already programmed that after this number of days you are supposed to start the mechanism to come back. So at that point of time they have to drive it sort of like, you know, and again it follows a navigation scheme whereby that landing point is already programmed also into the shuttle. So all those calculations are made and it is already, but then of course because it's in space, so many things can go wrong. So that is why they are given all those trainings, like that Jerry Carr said, he trained how to live in a desert, how to live underwater, how to live in a jungle. Because their space shuttle while coming down can land anywhere even though the landing point has already been specified. So they have to drive it and then they usually don't land with the shuttle. The shuttle crash lands. They have to parachute themselves away from the shuttle. They don't come with it because once the shuttle comes back into the Earth's environment, it is pulled by gravity. So it falls, you know, just like any other object from the sky would. So they have to parachute themselves out and they would usually fall somewhere near the landing zone. But if something goes wrong again, then it would be. So that is, I think, perhaps the most difficult part, actually landing down. Yes, sir. Again, I have to move here to listen to the question. So Jane here is our businessman in the house. He is worried about the fact that they spend so much money, build these spacecrafts, go into space, then some of it breaks off over there, when they come back towards it crash lands. What's the point? You know, and what do? Do they reuse the metal or do they again start another process and spend millions of dollars? What happens? Again, from what I have read, they usually cannot reuse those materials because as we saw, it crash lands, breaks off. The only thing that they take with them is the data that they collect over there and the samples. Because usually in space, these astronauts are sent outside to either take readings of the environment or to take observations, to make recordings of what is happening or to collect small samples. So the only thing when they parachute out of the space shuttle, the only thing that they take with them are those samples and those things. Nothing else can be reused because all of it just crash lands and goes boom. But now that is exactly why you don't hear that every month there is a space shuttle going into space. They need to find a lot of funds for this, they need to find sponsors, the team has to come into place, and then that is why their worst thing is problems that happen when they shoot off. Because that for them is a complete waste. At least when it goes and it comes back, those samples and those readings are very important for them. With that they can, you know, do research on Earth again and all that. But if something goes wrong while the shuttle is going up and it gets destroyed over there, then that is where everything has gone into waste. And it happens. If you follow NASA and the amount of losses that they make in terms of dollars, it's huge. Crazy money is lost. But that is the price that we pay for knowledge. Okay? So, any other question? Yes, ma'am. Again, that depends on the requirements of the mission. depending on what the requirements are. So they judge the requirements, then they judge how many people would be needed to fulfill the requirements. Then according to that, now they have to figure out what sort of shuttle that they can make. And in fact, when a rocket shoots, like we saw in that video, when the rocket shoots from Earth, a big part of it remains behind because it's just using that fuel to push it. Let me just show that. See, this is so the rocket fuel, and then a big part of it remains behind. Because this is the part that contains the fuel that was used to project the rocket. But that gets remained behind. A very, well, not a very small part, but compared to the whole rocket, it's like a third of the whole rocket that actually goes into space. Because they don't want to have too big a body that those people cannot control. You know, the bigger the body, the more the risks. So I can't really say exactly what the size would be. It can probably be like this room, maybe even bigger. But it depends on how many people are going for the mission, how long the mission will take, because the longer the mission, the more they need the food supplies, the medication. So there has to be a storage area for that. The more trash they make, so the more storage area for trash. So all that depends on the nature of the mission. And that is what governs the size of the shuttle. That is how the process starts. They figure out all this, they make this small bit first. Then they need to realize how much fuel would it take to take this small part into space. So according to that now, they make this fuel compartment. So it's a step-by-step process. They start by this room. Okay, now we need to figure out the building that will have this room. You know, and that would be according to the resources that they have, like how much fuel is needed. Mostly the fuel, because they burn a crazy amount of fuel to put that into space. Really big amount. Any other questions? Yes, Ishan.
If someone forgets to put the parachute inside the rocket, what will happen?
If someone forgets to put the parachute, then you pray that you fall either in the water or you fall on a jumping castle so that you know you just bump this. Then only prayers can save you if you forget the parachute.
Yeah, you mentioned Qibla. Now how do you know the timings? Because the Fajr Salah and the Maghrib Salah and the Zohar Salah all have different timings.
Again, very good question. But now that is what I said, like I don't know, I tried to look for this document but I couldn't find it. But that is, I guess, your homework now. You go home, try to look for this document and try to see what are the rulings as far as prayers are concerned. Yes, well?
Where do they get so much money from?
Well, NASA is, first of all, they get it from the government. NASA gets it from US, all these places where they have these space stations on Earth, they get most of their funding from government. Then you have rich people like our dear friend Tito here, who decides to fund them and takes the whole expedition. So while he is out there just enjoying himself, they are doing a bit of their work as well. So that is where the funding comes from. Most of it comes from the government, some of it comes from donors. Anything else? To move on. Now I'm done with my presentation, but this is, who knows who this is?
Felix
Yes, his name is Felix
Baumgartner.
Does everyone know what he did last year?
Yes.
He jumped from space. This is a world record, something that no one has ever done before. He did a free fall. So basically, he went a distance from the Earth's surface and just jumped. So it's like bungee jumping. You people know about bungee jumping? But from space. So huge issue. It was all over the news. Everyone was talking about it. So if not going and living in space, then maybe this is something that we should, at least hope to try out someday. That at least I can go and jump from space. Yes, Irfan.
Did he break the sound barrier?
Yeah, he did. He broke the sound barrier. Although don't ask me the science behind that. I'm not a good physics fan. But well, for me, it's just exciting enough that he jumped from space. So, yes, he did reach safely. His name is in World Book of Records. He was all over the news, famous like crazy. Yes, sir.
There is no gravity outside of like, how do you get direction?
It's not true that there is no gravity. It's just that the gravity decreases as we move away from the surface of the Earth. The point, in fact, even in most of the space shuttles, I guess I didn't mention that. So, even in the space shuttles, the distance that they are placed from the Earth, they don't really have zero gravity. What they have is called microgravity. The gravity is so small that it feels negligible. But it's not that it's not there. Okay? It takes a very long distance for you to be able to pull away from the influence of the Earth's gravity completely.
When did the journalist pass?
I don't know. You'll have to go watch his video for that. I wanted to get that as well, but I couldn't as it is. We don't even have time. But another homework. Go and look for Felix's video and go through it. It's very inspiring. Gian. Can anyone help me? If you know where he landed?
I think he landed in some desert area near.
He landed on Earth though.
Yeah,
like,
near
he landed
his
properly, he landed fine, everything was well. I think everyone should go and either read about this or try to look for the video. It's something that happens once in a lifetime. Okay, so this is the smallest example of being an astronaut. He just went into space and jumped. Okay, so I am done. Thank you so much for your time, your concentration, and your active participation. I am very happy whenever my crowd is this active because it feels like we are actually learning from each other. I hope everyone liked the event. Just to tell you, the next event of astronomy will be on meteor showers. I don't know if people are following the news, but recently in Russia there was a meteor shower that caused damage, and now people are looking for precious stones. So it's something that is very much in the news right now as well. So the next astronomy event, which will be on 30th March, inshallah, will be about meteor showers. So I expect to see you all, inshallah, again. Please do attend and spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Farhan, for taking us through the lives of astronauts. I hope that all of you have enjoyed and learned something from this event. Now I would like to call Brother Ali M. Manekia, the Astronomy Subcommittee Chairman, to give a token of appreciation to the speaker, Brother Farhan. Please recite the last salawat.
Allahumma salli ala.
Where's my friend Ishan? Ishan, come.
That's okay.
Huh?
That's yours.
No, that's T is for very active participation. Okay? So, now go enjoy it. Make sure you share with your friends and family.
Coming to the end of the program, I would like all of us to pray for those who are suffering around the world, example Pakistan and Iraq, and all over the world. Now as we come to the end, please fill in the survey forms and give us your feedback. We hope to see you again at the next event. I would like the ladies to leave first.